All right. I think this is better. I think we're on now. You got to build this audience black up. Yeah, shut that down because the camera's still on over there and the mic's still on. Yeah, you can close the whole program out. Okay. What it's doing is not letting me on YouTube. You got to shut the whole thing down. Huh?
Is the mic off?
Yeah, you unplug this off. 1 second, sister.
Okay, no problem. I see what's going on.
You do want an audience now, right?
Yeah.
That's the purpose. That is the purpose. We gotta wait for this audience to build back up.
Okay, there's no problem.
Control yourself, Shane. My engineer over here, he's sweating bricks. All right, you're gonna hear some music and we're gonna come back 3 to 5 minutes, all right?
Okay, no problem.
Sit.
Oh.
Check 1 2 1 2. Check 1 2 1 2. We're back in the building. Some minor difficulties going on here. But in any event, we're gonna get the sister back on the line. All right, and then we're gonna continue this interview. Iron out some kinks. Hope y'all don't mind. Every now and then it happens that way. Sure you'll understand. All right, we're gonna get through the show tonight. Shane, don't worry about it. Shane about to have a little miniature baby over here. All right. Once again, this is Professor Griff and the program that you're on Sirius Mindz. All right. The instrumental that you're hearing in the background is my wife's song, is called Under the Veil. All right. While we build this audience back up, and we can vibe on that for a second. All right. We got my man Shane in the building. Shout out to Hustle. Shout out to 16. Shout out all those that support the platform. Really appreciate that. All right. By the way, this dynamic drumming that you hear on this song is a good friend of ours who passed away a few months ago, as a matter of fact. His name is Omar Phillips. All right, you talking about a bad drummer. He used to play with big boys from Outkast. Just doing a ton of work with the Dungeon family, Outkast, and the rest of them. All right. Shout out 441 Formula all the way from Bermuda. Really appreciate that. All right. All right. All right, we're going to get back with Sister Ma'at. And we're going to dive back in to this interview. Sister Ma'at, you still there? Hold on. Let's see where the sister is. Miss.
Pardon me, I had you on mute. I'm here.
Don't worry about it. All right. We're back. Old school fashion. I'm going directly from my cell phone, so we're making it happen. All right. Now, we talked about the students and clients and the family getting it better in person, live. And we talked about those people that influence you and help you get to this point. All of us have those individuals, whether we want to mention them or not. All right, so just for the people that don't know, when you're talking about balancing out the totality of the person, mainly the woman, when we talk about holistic health, I see that you mentioned in the book, What's in Your Womb, on page 154, you talk about the 42 principles of Ma'at. What is the benefit? What is the benefit of talking about and giving people understanding of the 42 principles of Ma'at?
Well, I would say most of us have been raised as a Christian in a Christian household.
Right.
Even in Islam, I'm not as familiar with Islam, but we had the 10 Commandments in Christianity, and those 10 are in here, or they have been modified somewhat in the Christian Bible. So these are just some of the guidelines that our ancestors left to just kind of help. But these are like tools, because if you are to do some of these things, you're going to have consequences. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so it's not just about, well, can you do what you want to do? You absolutely can. Okay. But there are consequences. And so it's kind of like, those of us who develop techniques and programs and things like that to help other people, most of that is us telling you about what happened when we did the wrong thing, so you don't have to do it too.
Okay.
So here's how you can get around it.
Okay. And I see in the back of the book, you have a short bibliography in the back of the book of references. So once one reads your book, would it be best to go and find some of these individual books, or what are they, mainly books? When you talk about Martin Burnell, when you talk about Dr. Ben, Jay Carruthers, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, Chakon to Diop, George G.M. James, just to mention a few. The purpose now for you putting these individuals in there.
Mm-hmm. This is so that, I do have most of the book is my experience. It's just me talking about these experiences and this is what happened and da-da-da. I do have a section in the book that deals with some history what we experienced as melanin dominant folks over time.
Right.
And to drive home the point that our history does not start with slavery. Okay, that was a period of time. And so if you don't believe me, then go ahead and believe all these people, because they're the ones who did the research.
Right.
Okay. So you go through here, and this gives you a whole, list of folks that you can just really pull something out, and you want to learn about your melanin, you want to know about your history, you want to know what they did to Ivan Van Sertima, and some of those early folks who were doing the DNA testing on the mummies and things like that. Go look at this book. Listen to the story. Dr. Ben, all of these folks. When we quote a lot of this information, sometimes we forget that, we didn't do the research. We got it from them. Or, matter of fact, we didn't even get it from them. We got it from other people that were talking about their research. Right. And so I went through.
That's your generation.
So that's my. Come on, man.
No, I got it directly from them.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Okay. You're right.
Okay.
You're right. You're right.
So we just need to make that a little bit clearer. All right.
Yeah, you're right. Right. We got it from y'all.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We got it from, I named the Dr. Jewel. Well, where did she get it from?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or Dr. Valentine, Ashura Kwesi, these people, we are quoting them.
Right.
Okay. They were direct. Right. To the people who did the research, and starting with my generation and below, we are a generation where we don't do research. You know what I'm saying? We don't do it ourselves. We get it from, now we getting it from YouTube. We getting it from Facebook, whatever it is. Just these little quotes that people put up or whatever. I actually have a little on my Facebook page. I have a video that says from trolling to tribute. And because that's what we do, we troll. You know what I'm saying? You say something, we take it, we say, oh, but we never say Professor Griff said that. Wow. Or we forget. Well, now I ain't gonna say me, the other generation. We forget to mention the source, and that is very important to direct it back to the source, because you're going to. A lot of folks are afraid to create their own material. And a lot of times you just you are expanding on something that you heard. And that's okay. But say where you got it from.
Okay, but now you're talking about a certain kind of mindset, right? Because not everyone does this. Because
absolutely.
I'm on my 6th, 7th book, and it's like, that's all that's in my book. Pointing back to those people that kind of gave us this information. Because the main thing on this particular platform, and the people that are dedicated to the work that they're dedicated to and that tune into this show every single evening, I say we're raising the vibrational pitch of our people's thinking into the mind, into the spirit of the creator and the co-creator. We're standing on the shoulders of the ancestors, and we're kneeling at the feet of the elders. So we always give credit back, and we give credit forward. You understand what I'm saying? Most cases, taking ourselves out of it, and getting ourselves out of the way. Are you following me?
I do.
All right, give thanks. All right, so in the book you mentioned some deities, queen warriors. Mm-hmm. You say these divine women may inspire you to find your own deity. What do you mean by that? Your own deity.
So that section of the book is about you when you have shed, it kind of takes you through a process where you shed a lot of the emotional baggage that you're carrying. You go through your relationships, you go through the experiences you had with your parents. Okay. And then you bring your deity back. Okay. Because that is really your essence. And so some folks are, don't know how to do that. So what I did is I just gave some examples. Now, when I wrote this book, there are some people, they scared of Orishas, they scared of the Netzeru, whatever. So I put some Christian references in there. I put some from Islam,
okay,
some historical figures.
Just slow down, just a little. Mm-hmm. Orishas, can you explain that?
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me take Orisha, Netzeru, Abosom, all of them, and put them. The simplest way to explain it, okay, so if you go from you as a being, okay, you have a head, you have some hands, you have some feet, and you are so, you are so supreme in that your hand becomes its own deity. Okay. Your head becomes its own deity. Your feet, your knees, the organs in the body, they operate as their own. They are so. What do you call it? I don't know what word I'm looking for. Okay, but they are that important. You are that important that your organs are their own deities. Right. And so they're showing us who we are, where we came from. We are replicas of that. Right. Okay. And what are Netarus? So the Netaru is the Kemetic version of that. The Orisha are the Nigerian or Yoruba version of that. Then you have, the Rudan, you have the Abosong, that's the Akan version. And then let's cycle here to North America. You have the Olmec deities, and I forget what they call them. It'll come to me. It's almost like Netaru. Okay. Yeah, but when you look at them, they generally have the same characteristics. They do the same thing, and they point to the same organs. Like, it's just amazing. This is how we know we was all over the globe, because we did the same thing everywhere we went. Right. So the divine women may inspire you to find your own deity, and some of the deities that you put in, which are queen warriors. Queen Nzinga, Candace, Miro, Queen T. Why Queen T? Well, Queen T is one of the most, when you look at the pictures, she was the wife of, she was the wife of Amenhotep. But that's one of the pictures that you see pretty often. So I just kind of went through and picked the ones that I know that people see all the time. Right. And yeah, and she was, she's the one with the afro. And I love the I'm sitting here because I got to remember. I had to remember this. The inscription that her husband wrote about her. Right. And I'm like, wow, look at, this is how our ancestors treated their wives and vice versa. Right. I'm not saying that she sat there and was just like, yeah, I know that's me, whatever. But this is how we thought of each other. Oh, okay. And when people call on deities that they're not familiar with, how does this affect us today? Well, what is the purpose of calling on these deities to assist us today? Well, I'll tell you what. I'll just use the example of my name. I was not born with the name Ma'at in Makaru Amin. That was the name when my godmother divined on my name. That's the name that she came up with. Well, it was Ma'at in Makaru. We added on the Amin a little later. And I didn't know much about Ma'at. I was pretty new to this. I knew a little bit about Orisha, but very little about the Kemetic, except Asar and Aset. You know what I'm saying? And I think at that time I was saying Isis and Osiris. So I didn't know anything about Ma'at. But when, that was the name that was divine, and she gave me the name, I said, okay, that sounds a lot like me, Right. And I'm going to take on this name. And one of the things that the elders did warn us about, they said, listen, do you accept this name? Because when you take on this name and you start invoking it and people start calling you by that name, that energy is coming into you, your environment, in all of your interactions.
Right.
Are you prepared for that? Can you hold it? Can you hold that energy?
Right.
Yep.
Okay, so what is the purpose, when you wrote in the book, what is the purpose for you asking the question, what is your purpose? Is that important? Is that important to a woman when you're talking about what's in your womb?
Well, absolutely. So let me I'm skipping a little to the new book. I didn't have this information when I wrote the What's in Your Womb, but I do now, in the sense of understanding when asking that question, what's in your womb, with the womb, most of the time when we say that, our intention is that we are talking about the uterus, the fallopian tubes, really specifically the uterus. Okay, but if you look up the definition of a womb, the womb is a storage place for anything. Okay, so the brain, the cells, a purse, a house, a car, a car, all of them are wombs. If anything that can store something is a womb.
Right.
So in expanding that definition of asking that question, what's in your womb? What is in your cells? What is in your DNA? What is in the air that you breathe? How are you operating? Okay. And if it's not all in alignment with that purpose, then we got some problems. And that's the majority of us. Okay. What we materialize is not in line with divine purpose.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna ask a couple of more questions, and then we're gonna have you back on next week, right before your event. Making your womb. Now, this is for the sisters, for the women. Making your womb a sacred space. How can a woman make her womb the sacred space?
Well, this is the way that I describe it now. Is let's if we can just imagine the vagina. See, most of what we do is just concentrated in the vagina. We don't really deal with the uterus. The uterus is or the womb, or what we're calling, is usually on auto function. Okay, it's menstrual cycles, having babies, and it does contract when you have an orgasm.
Right.
But the majority of our consciousness goes into the vagina. Okay, and when we have intercourse, it's feeling good and everything. You'd be like, oh yeah, you in there, but no, really, you're just in the vagina. You're not in the uterus. It doesn't go. It doesn't go past the cervix, right? You can have a connection with the uterus, a conscious connection. And we have exercises that you can do where you have a one-on-one contact with the uterus. Now, how to make it a sacred space? If you think about your vagina as being the courtyard into the temple. Okay, so we do a lot of this. We take care of that. We're doing the vaginal steamings. We're doing the yoni eggs. We're doing that. But this is the courtyard to the temple. And if you have been to some of, they have a lot of them in California. I think they're not Buddhists. They're the Dalai Lama people. I forget the name of them. But they have these gorgeous temples. They have these with these gardens in front of them. They call centers for self-realization. Okay.
Okay.
When you get to that, that's even before you get into the temple. You can just sit down and meditate and feel the energy coming from the sacred space.
Right.
Okay. That is the job of the vagina. Okay, to hold that space. So nobody gets into the temple. No energy gets into that temple unless it's right. Some people just sit outside and say, man, I can't. Or some people can't even get into the courtyard. They just stand outside on the sidewalk.
Right.
Okay. And look at it. They gotta, so we have to think about what we carry, because we have this sacred space. We create deities out of this space. Okay, maybe we don't think about ourselves that way, but in the womb evolution program, we show you how significant just the act of creation is, and how it matches what happens in the universe that only happens every so many billion years. So each of us that's standing here right now, that we're communicating, we online, you and I talking or whatever, we were so significant that we literally, we mimic something that happens in a galaxy only every so many billion years. So then now ask yourself what your purpose is and how important you are.
Right. Give thanks. Give thanks. All right, so this is Sister Ma'at. She's talking about the womb evolution power. I have a womb evolution power weekend intensive. You want to let the people know where to go? You already talked about what it's about, but where it is, how long is it? Just give them some information on how they connect with you in order to attend this.
Yes, so definitely what you want to do is go to womb, and I'll put it in the chat in a minute, wombevolution.com/power intensives. That'll give you some information on it. What we're doing now is we're going to be offering just a special 1-day interactive workshop, because we understand that the whole concept of womb evolution might just be woo, like over everybody's head or whatever. So what we're offering is what we're calling, we're going to help you get wet, WET, the womb evolution technique. So we're going to use what we have, okay, and where we at. We're going to use our sexy to seduce our subconscious. We're going to learn how to arouse our atmosphere.
Right.
So we have all of those things. That's what we have set up for you. 1-day workshop, $65. And you can get it online. We do have limited seating. So we really, really need to close this out as soon as possible, because we got books to order and things like that. So definitely, if you are at all thinking about attending, you want to register tonight.
All right. You want to give them the information on where to register?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to put it right here. Is wombevolution.com. Let's see, /power intensives.
Okay. Give thanks. All right. Really appreciate you. And I'll contact you to let you know we're going to do our last interview before this particular event. All right, sis?
Oh, yes. Thank you. And thank you for having me. It has been an honor and a pleasure. Anytime I can get on with Professor Griff, because it's been a while. Right. Last time we talked, I was on maternity leave. So.
All right. All right, sis. Really appreciate you.
All right. Thank you. I'm going to listen to the rest.
All right.
I'm going to stay and listen. All right.
Hotep. All right. Greetings. That was Sister Ma'at. Her book is called What's in Your Womb. And of course, her intensive, all right, is Womb Evolution Power Weekend Intensive. Experience the Womb Evolution Program live May 4th and 5th in Atlanta at the Core Total Body Spa, 2857 Main Street, East Point, Georgia. For the rest of the program, I'm not sure how long we're going to be on, but I want to dive back into this whole idea of Easter. All right. Let me see the books over there. Now, just kind of laying some information out. Carrie A, I think you got your Wednesdays mixed up. We're not starting the music review yet. All right. Okay. All right. Yesterday, when we went into the whole idea of Easter, and we started talking about what happened on Easter Sunday, with what happened in Sri Lanka. I think it was an interesting contrast, simply because we're looking at around the globe what's happening and what's going on at these religious institutions. And I think it was only befitting that we talk about the terrorist attacks and talk about what's going on in the religious institutions. All right. So I think it's imperative that we bring this back down to the center, and we try to start looking at these things. Even though we're local, we have to start looking at these things on a global perspective. And what does it mean to us and our people, not only here in America, throughout the Black African diaspora. So what I want to do tonight is just basically not necessarily talk about Easter, but I want to give some information out that you might want to track down and get a better understanding of how the lens that we should be viewing these things through. All right. I follow what I'm saying. So I think one of the first places I think I would start is Dr. Amos Wilson's book, The Falsification of African Consciousness. Simply because the only way that they can pull over on us what they've pulled over on us in the way of getting us to process and digest their ideologies, philosophies, to accept their deities, to have us exchange our gods for their wealth, all right, by giving us a false sense of who we are, a false sense of the self. So Dr. Amos Wilson goes into the whole idea of the falsification of African consciousness. Sometimes we may think we're on the path of understanding certain things from our perspective, all right? But the way it's been fed back to us through the lens that it's been given to us is actually false. And we have to unpack that. And then once we unpack it, then in most cases now when new information comes on the scene, really old information, we have to unravel that, unlearn that in order to learn what we're supposed to get. And this is one of those books that you have to have in order to get that information. The Falsification of African Consciousness, Eurocentric History, Psychiatry, and the Politics of White Supremacy. Dr. Amos Wilson. All right. Okay. Make sure you get Dr. Amos Wilson's book. And of course, we pulled the information yesterday from our elder, Ishaka Musa Barashango. This is Ishaka Musa Barashango's book, African People and European Holidays of Mental Genocide. This is book 2. There's a book 1 that goes along with this. And there's a few other books that Ishaka Musa Barashango has out there. All right. But make sure you track down book 1. All right. Shout out to Great Filibuster. Really appreciate that. All right. Good brother. All right. But we have to understand who we are as an African people. And we have to understand what is our relationship to these European holidays and how does that constitute a mental genocide? How does that constitute a mental genocide? All right. How does it constitute a mental genocide? We have to unravel it. All right. And in this book, Ishaka Musa Barashango talks about the whole idea of the 4th of July, which is the American Independence Day. He talks about the idea. He talks about the idea of, hold on one second. All right. He talks about the idea of the Protestant Reformation, and the African slave trade. Then he talks about the growing empire and the new African revolution. All right. Then he goes and he takes some of these histories in depth to talk about them, to give us a better understanding of some of the history, some of the histories that Chancellor Williams gave us in the destruction of Black civilization. A takeoff on some of the information that Runoko Rashidi or Ivan Van Sertima may have given us, or Ashwa Kwesi may have given us. All right. Last but not least, if we was to dive into this whole idea of what does it mean to get caught up in the whole idea of churchianity instead of Christianity, viewing things through a different lens, so much so that you just want to go along just to get along. All right. I think not. What you might want to do is pick this book up, Holy Lockdown. Does the church limit black progress? All right. And the question I want to pose, all right, tonight for the remainder of this broadcast. Does the church limit black progress? Does the church limit black progress? Come on, talk to me. Does the church limit black progress? Someone says yes. When we start talking about the whole idea, emotion and and entertainment in the church, how does the two conflict? But then again, how does the two coincide with one another? Does the emotional aspect of what goes on in church, does that directly interfere? All right, does that directly interfere with the worship that's supposed to be taking place in church? All right, rhetorical confinement. The whole idea of you going over the same scriptures over and over and over. Does it confine you? All right. Does it hypnotize you? All right. What happens now when you want to break outside and bring to the conversation or to the topic or to the church what you've learned from outside of the church? What happens at that particular point? All right. Privation, rationalization, ritualistic superstition, or ritualistic suspension. All right. The need for relevance, beyond literal. I wonder what Jeremiah Kamara in his book Holy Lockdown means when he talks about beyond literal. Do we take the scriptures literally? Are we taking them too literal? Did Eve really talk to a snake, or did a snake really talk to Eve? Did they actually bite into an apple? Is the woman actually responsible for all of the sin in the world? These are the questions that we have to ask. Waiting and hoping. The impact and images. What is the impact of images in religion? The impact of religion or images in religion. Economic fragmentation. With the money that the church pulls in on a collective level. All right. Should it be doing more for black people? All right. With the billions of dollars that the church takes in, should they be doing more for black people as a whole? All right. I think some of these questions deserve our attention, and we have to be bold enough to answer them. All right. Now, when we get to this whole idea of Easter, what happens in the case of the holidays that bind us back, all right, to this particular people that have actually set this thing up so black people can never make it back to themselves and never make it back, all right, to those spiritual systems and those concepts and the way that we used to do things. Some of the people that Sister Ma'at mentioned in her book, What's in Your Womb, some of the female deities. It was designed for us to never make our way back to understand who they are. All right. So let's understand the dynamic and what we're dealing with. All right. We have to be able to ask bold questions, as Jeremiah Kamara does in his book, and of course Ishaka Musa Barishango does in his book. All right. More so than asking the bold questions, we have to be bold enough to answer. All right. And stand on some of the information that we gather together. All right. That's very imperative. The way we're going to be able to get to the bottom of this, to unroot some of these things, to unlearn some of these behaviors when the holidays roll around. All right. We have to be able to ask the question and then be bold enough to give the answer. And then once we give the answer, we have to be able to stand on it. All right. We have to be able to stand on it. All right. Should the church be held responsible? All right. This is the question that we have to ask. Responsible, because right down the street is the liquor store. Right around the corner is the crack game. Damn near on the same corner, they prostituting. All right. So we have to ask the necessary questions, especially when these holidays roll around. Because when the holidays roll around, it's a wrap. All right. Because the week before that, you already saved your money and got the little outfit on that you bought your little daughter or your son. you running them in and out of the church. All right. You're participating in the ritual, which is the Easter egg hunt. All right. And we're doing this to our children, unbeknownst to them, the true origin of some of these particular rituals. And we need to understand that. So if we were to go into the books, all right, African people and European holidays are mental genocide. Holy lockdown, does the church limit black progress by Jeremiah Kamara? Of course, you can get book 1 and book 2. This book is by Ishaka Musa Barashango. All right, African people and European holidays, book 1 and book 2. And of course, if you still have friends that are confused, Negroes and Negresses, you might want to get them this book. All right, The Falsification of African Consciousness. All right, The Falsification of African Consciousness. All right. I always say we have to build a digital library, and also we have to build a physical library. All right. And we need to take this and be a lot more serious about it. When the holidays roll around, instead of you celebrating the holidays, why don't we get to the root of what the holidays are? And what do they mean to us as a people? All right. In Africa, in other places on the globe where you find black people, did we ever celebrate Easter? What does the eggs and the rabbit and all that got to do with the resurrection? All right. So some of the questions we have to ask in order to get to some of these answers that we so desperately need. All right. Just 3 of these books, well, really 4, along with What's in Your Womb, answer some of these questions. All right. Answer some of the questions that we may have. All right. All right. So I'm sorry for the technical difficulties earlier. All right. We managed to get through the show because I definitely didn't want to pass up the opportunity of having this sister on. All right. She's going to be in Atlanta the 4th and the 5th of May. Make sure you get the information from her website. All right. Well, anyway, I'm going to see y'all tomorrow night. All right. There's this thing I wanted to talk about so bad tonight. It had a lot to do with the Boy Scouts and this pedophile rings that's been going on since the 40s, taking off these young boys, and how we're going to tie that into Pizzagate, how we're going to tie that into human sex trafficking with young children. All right. I'm not sure how much they're going to let that fly on social media without cutting it and shutting it down, but we're going to do what we got to do. All right. Quan S. Peace. All right. 16, wherever you are, peace. Really appreciate everybody for coming on tonight. All right. Once again, shout out to the brothers and sisters in Dallas, Texas. Shout out to Damon and family at Sankofa. Shout out to Brother O for putting on a wonderful event. Really appreciate that. And of course, shout out to 16 and the husband for coming through. Really appreciate that. All right. Shout out to my homegirl, Hustle. I got Shane on deck in the building. He's in study mode. We can't bother him. Shh. We shot the rest of Soleil's video today to this particular song that you're hearing in the background. The video should be out. Let me ask Soleil when she plan on releasing this, man. All right. But anyway, this is Professor Griff of Sirius Mindz. For Sirius Mindz, because Sirius Mindz attract Sirius Minds. Seriously, y'all. All right. The video should be out in a minute. And I will see y'all tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. We're going to iron out the technical difficulties. We're good. All right. Come on, you could have been there. It's gonna be a dope video though. Shout out my homegirl. From visual creation creative hustle, doing the damn thing.
Can't be suppressed. Shock is the energy that we manifest. We the deadly tribe. Check your hood in this time to build a collie vibe. Peel away the cloak, scrape away the scales, and see the truth of what lies behind all the dark things.
Alicia Taylor. Peace. Kevin Gray, what's up? Jonas Griffin, what's going on with you, bro?
Who you trying to be? Cause the yachtman is blanketed like a canopy. Antithetical, saying that you real when your identity lies in all that you don't reveal. Third eye blind, eyes to contact, so you can open the lowest up. Compact, become an offering, something more to give than the physical body that can't forever live. Rooted in passion, before the right cause, spiritual wisdom and knowledge that make you have pause. Then let it transmute, metamorphosize. The truth of awakening right before your eyes. The perception, the real magic. So you don't miss all this glory, it would be tragic. So get you clear in the feeling that it was fabric, and find yourself on the path or in the labyrinth. People call beautiful.